In the end, it is impossible not to become what others believe you are. Gaius Julius Caesar. These immortal words spoken by Julius Caesar capture the essence of one of history's most formidable leaders. Born in 100 BCE, Caesar would rise from the streets of Rome to the pinnacle of power, forever altering the course of Western civilization. Caesar's story is one of ambition, strategy, and betrayal, a tale of a man who sought to mold the future of his world, only to be undone by the very forces he sought to control. This is the story of Julius Caesar. Gaius Julius Caesar was born into a patrician family in Rome, but his path to power was anything but guaranteed. The Republic was rife with corruption, factionalism, and civil strife, a world where alliances were fragile and enemies were many. From a young age, Caesar's ambition was clear. He pursued military service and law, aligning himself with influential figures like Gaius Marius, his uncle by marriage, and later Lucius Cornelius Sulla. But his early career was marked by danger. Sulla's purges nearly cost him his life. Caesar fled Rome, narrowly escaping death. With Sulla gone, Caesar returned to Rome and began climbing the political ladder. As a charismatic speaker and skilled politician, he quickly gained the favor of the people. But it was his military prowess that would propel him to greatness. By forming the first triumvirate with Pompey and Crassus in 60 BCE, Caesar secured his rise. The alliance was a calculated move, uniting Rome's most powerful men. Together, they would dominate the Republic, but it was only a matter of time before the alliance would fracture. The Gallic Wars. In 58 BCE, Caesar set out for Gaul. Over the next decade, he would wage one of the most brutal and successful military campaigns in Roman history. The Gallic Wars showcased Caesar's brilliance as a commander. He was fearless, innovative, and ruthless. Caesar's strategy was to divide and conquer, exploiting tribal rivalries among the Gauls. He led his legions through harsh winters, across rivers, and into battle against formidable foes like Vercingetorix, the chieftain who united the Gauls against Rome. The siege of Alesia was a turning point. Outnumbered and surrounded, Caesar's legions held their ground, ultimately forcing the surrender of Vercingetorix. Rome's dominion over Gaul was complete, and Caesar returned to Rome a hero, but not without controversy. While the people celebrated, the Senate grew wary. Caesar's unprecedented power and wealth fueled fears that he aimed to become a tyrant. The seeds of conflict were sown, and the alliance with Pompey was strained to the breaking point. In January of 49 BCE, the Roman Republic stood on the brink of collapse. The Senate, fearful of Caesar's growing power, ordered him to disband his army and return to Rome as a private citizen. For Caesar, this demand was more than a political maneuver. It was a death sentence. Caesar faced a fateful choice: comply with the Senate's orders, lose his power, and face possible execution, or march on Rome and ignite a civil war. Standing at the banks of the Rubicon River, Caesar made his decision. "The die is cast," he declared as he led his troops across the river. This simple act was a declaration of war on the Senate and the Republic itself. Caesar's bold defiance set Rome ablaze, plunging the Republic into chaos. Caesar's forces moved swiftly. In city after city, his legions marched with precision, their loyalty to Caesar unshaken. His reputation as a military strategist was unparalleled, and he used both force and diplomacy to gain support across Italy. Meanwhile, Pompey the Great, Caesar's former ally and now his greatest rival, fled Rome to regroup in Greece, assembling an army to challenge Caesar. By 48 BCE, the two titans of Rome met on the plains of Pharsalus in a decisive battle that would change the course of history. Caesar's forces were outnumbered, but his tactical brilliance turned the tide. With a combination of cunning maneuvers and unwavering discipline, Caesar's legions overwhelmed Pompey's larger army. Pompey fled the battlefield, defeated and desperate. Seeking refuge in Egypt, Pompey believed he would find allies. Instead, he found betrayal. The young pharaoh, Ptolemy XIII, fearing Caesar's wrath, ordered Pompey's assassination. The once great general was killed on the shores of Alexandria, his head presented to Caesar as a gruesome gift. Caesar wept at the sight of his former friend's severed head, but he wasted no time seizing the moment. In Egypt, he became embroiled in the country's dynastic struggle, aligning himself with Cleopatra, the enigmatic queen. Their alliance, both political and romantic, cemented Caesar's influence in the East and marked a new chapter in his expanding power. Returning to Rome in triumph, Caesar was hailed as a hero, yet the Senate's unease grew. He was now the undisputed master of Rome, with no rival left to challenge him. The Republic was crumbling under the weight of his ambition, and the path to dictatorship was all but inevitable. Upon his return to Rome in 46 BCE, Julius Caesar was hailed as the savior of the Republic, but the reality was far more complex. With his enemies vanquished and his position unchallenged, Caesar took the title of Dictator Perpetuo, dictator for life. This title was unprecedented and symbolized the vast concentration of power in his hands. While the Republic had seen dictators before, they were temporary positions, reserved for times of extreme crisis. Caesar's lifetime appointment was an unmistakable signal to his opponents that the Republic as they knew it was in jeopardy. Caesar set about transforming Rome. His reforms touched every aspect of Roman life, from the structure of government to the daily routines of its citizens. He passed laws aimed at relieving debt, limiting the exploitation of provincial governors, and stabilizing the grain supply for the poor. But one of his most significant reforms was the overhaul of the Roman calendar. The Roman calendar was a chaotic mess, reliant on lunar cycles and often manipulated by politicians to extend their terms in office. Caesar, drawing on his time in Egypt and his conversations with astronomers, reformed it into what we now know as the Julian calendar, basing it on the solar year. The year 46 BCE, which had become severely misaligned with the seasons, was lengthened to 445 days to correct the calendar. This year of confusion, as it was known, put Rome back on track and gave us the leap year system we still use today. Caesar's vision extended beyond the administrative to the physical landscape of Rome itself. His building projects were monumental. He envisioned a new forum to rival the old Roman forum and ordered the construction of grand temples, libraries, and theaters. His legacy was to be written in stone as much as in law. But these reforms, which aimed to centralize authority and streamline governance, also alienated many in the Senate. They feared that Caesar was dismantling the delicate balance of power that had defined the Republic. The Senate had been the heart of Roman political life for centuries, representing the patrician class, the aristocracy of Rome. Now, with Caesar's dominance, they were relegated to little more than an advisory body. One of Caesar's most controversial actions was his decision to pack the Senate with his supporters. He expanded the Senate from 600 members to 900, adding new magistrates and senators from provinces outside of Italy, men who owed their loyalty directly to Caesar. To the traditional Roman elite, this was an affront to the very idea of Roman citizenship and authority. Caesar's actions were seen not as reforms, but as a deliberate power grab. His opponents accused him of acting like a king. Indeed, there were rumors that Caesar sought to be crowned monarch, a notion that was deeply offensive to Romans. The very foundation of the Republic had been built on the rejection of monarchy after the expulsion of Rome's last king, Tarquin the Proud, over 450 years earlier. The idea of a single ruler, even one as revered as Caesar, sitting on a throne was too much for many to bear. In February 44 BCE, during the festival of Lupercalia, Mark Antony, one of Caesar's closest allies, publicly offered him a crown. Caesar refused it, but the scene only fueled suspicions. Was it a genuine refusal or a carefully staged performance to gauge public reaction? Whatever the case, the offer reinforced the belief among Caesar's opponents that he harbored monarchical ambitions. Behind the scenes, a conspiracy was already brewing. The core group of conspirators, men like Gaius Cassius Longinus and Marcus Junius Brutus, had once been supporters of Caesar. Cassius, a seasoned military commander, had grown increasingly resentful of Caesar's autocratic rule. Brutus, though personally close to Caesar, was driven by his ideals of preserving the Republic, believing that Rome must be saved from tyranny. What made the conspiracy so remarkable was that it wasn't simply a gathering of Caesar's political enemies. Many of the conspirators were friends, even family. Brutus was widely believed to be Caesar's illegitimate son, the product of an affair between Caesar and Servilia, Brutus's mother. Whether this was true or not, Caesar had treated Brutus like a son, and his betrayal would be the most devastating of all. The morning of March 15th, 44 BCE, the Ides of March, dawned with ominous warnings. According to historical accounts, a soothsayer had told Caesar to beware the Ides of March, a warning that echoed through the ages. His wife Calpurnia, plagued by terrifying dreams of Caesar's assassination, begged him to stay home. Even Caesar's close allies had heard of troubling rumors in the air, and some tried to dissuade him from attending the Senate meeting that day. But Caesar, ever confident in his power and invulnerability, dismissed the warnings. As Caesar made his way to the Senate at the Theater of Pompey, he passed the soothsayer and mocked him, saying, "The Ides of March have come." The seer replied, "Aye, Caesar, but not gone." Yet even with this final warning, Caesar pressed on. The Senate House, known as the Curia of Pompey, was the place where the conspiracy would unfold. The choice of location was deliberate. Caesar was to be murdered at the foot of the statue of Pompey, his former ally turned enemy, a symbol of the Republic's old guard. As Caesar entered the Senate, he was surrounded by the conspirators, all carrying concealed daggers. The first blow came from Casca, who struck Caesar in the neck. Surprised and wounded, Caesar attempted to fight back, but the attackers closed in, and the Senate floor became a chaotic frenzy of violence. Historically, it is said that Caesar tried to fend off his attackers, but when he saw Brutus, his trusted friend and possibly his son, among the conspirators, he ceased resisting. According to some accounts, his last words were, "Et tu, Brute? Even you, Brutus?" A phrase that would become immortalized in literature and history, though some scholars argue that Caesar may have said nothing at all in his final moments. Caesar was stabbed 23 times by the conspirators. After the brutal attack, his bloodied body lay lifeless at the base of Pompey's statue. The irony was not lost on Rome. The conqueror of Pompey had now fallen at his feet, a symbolic end to the Republic's greatest general. In the immediate aftermath, Rome was thrown into chaos. The conspirators, believing they had restored the Republic, found themselves facing the fury of a city in turmoil. The people of Rome did not rise up to celebrate the liberation of the Republic. Instead, many mourned the death of Caesar, the man who had brought them stability and prosperity after years of civil war. Mark Antony, Caesar's closest lieutenant, delivered a stirring funeral oration in the Forum, during which he displayed Caesar's blood-soaked toga to the crowd. With each gesture, Antony stoked the people's rage, turning them against the conspirators. His famous speech, later dramatized by Shakespeare, incited a riot. The conspirators were forced to flee the city. Caesar's assassination did not save the Republic. Instead, it plunged Rome into a new and even bloodier phase of civil war. Brutus and Cassius, the leaders of the conspiracy, would later face Caesar's loyalists, Mark Antony and Octavian, at the Battle of Philippi in 42 BCE. Defeated and hunted, both Brutus and Cassius would commit suicide. Julius Caesar's death marked the beginning of the end for the Roman Republic. In the years following his assassination, Rome would be consumed by civil wars, the final collapse of its republican institutions, and the rise of the Roman Empire. Caesar's adopted heir, Octavian, would eventually emerge as Rome's first emperor, taking the name Augustus and ushering in the Pax Romana, a period of relative peace and prosperity for the Roman world. Caesar's legacy is a complicated one. He was a reformer who sought to modernize and strengthen Rome, but he was also a dictator whose concentration of power made him a threat to the Republic. His assassination was not the death of tyranny, but rather the prelude to an imperial system that would dominate the Mediterranean for centuries. Today, the name Caesar is synonymous with power. The title of Kaiser in Germany and Tsar in Russia derive from his name, a testament to his lasting influence on the concept of rulership. His military campaigns, political reforms, and tragic end continue to captivate historians, scholars, and the public alike.